Hi, my name is Jennifer Tenholder, and I am a research assistant here at Team Prometheus Incorporated. I am joined today by my colleague, Miss Amanda Thompson, who is also a research assistant here at Team Prometheus Incorporated. We've been asked by Miss Adeline Moore, the Assistant Vice President of Foreign Affairs, to prepare a document for our expatriates who will be relocating to Argentina later this month to staff our new office. Before discussing the objectives of this presentation, I want to briefly reference the geography of Argentina. Argentina is the southmost country located in South America. This country shares its borders with Brazil, Bolivia, Chile, Paraguay, and Uruguay. The objective of this presentation is to provide the information necessary to develop training materials for our employees who will be relocating to Argentina. This information will help prepare these employees for the major shifts in culture they may experience as a result of this relocation, as well as assist them in the acclimation process. Language is one of the most significant areas of potential culture shock. The native language of Argentina is Spanish, whereas in the US, the most commonly spoken language is English. Argentine Spanish also varies quite drastically from the classic Central American and European styles of Spanish commonly taught in US schools. Argentina uses a dialect known as the Rio Platense dialect, which is only used in Argentina and parts of Uruguay. This dialect changes the pronunciation of many different Spanish words and also modifies some of the more mechanical parts of the language itself. One of the most noticeable changes is the pronunciation of the Y sound. For example, in the word calle, which means street in English, the Y is pronounced with an SH sound. So instead of calle, it's pronounced as cache instead. This dialect also uses vos instead of tu in place of second person personal pronouns. As a result, modifications are placed on the verbs associated with these pronouns. Typically in the present tense, with verbs ending in AR, for example, hablar, H-A-B-L-A-R, meaning to talk, these verbs are conjugated by taking the AR and transferring it into an ES, making hablar, hables, H-A-B-L-E-S, meaning you talk. With the use of vos instead of tu, an accent is added onto that E, transforming that word from hables to hables, placing that accent on that last vowel. Similar modifications are made to the past and future tenses of verbs dealing with the second person personal pronoun. Language barriers such as these can make even the simplest of tasks increasingly complex, which is why language is one of the most common causes of culture shock. Now I will be handing it over to Amanda Thompson, my fellow research assistant, who will continue educating you on Argentine culture.
Hi, my name is Amanda Thompson, and I will be continuing our presentation on Argentina. Transportation is another area of potential culture shock. In Argentina, there are many forms of transportation. There's traveling by automobiles via roadways, which is the most common form of transportation in the US, but that is not highly recommended, as the driving style appears to be relatively chaotic in comparison. Traffic regulations in Argentina are generally the same as in the US, but the locals often ignore the regulations. Speed limits and lane markings are universally ignored, and running red lights is common. Most drivers treat stop signs, the octagonal red signs reading pair, as though they were yield signs, and even then, some drivers ignore them completely. Within cities surrounding Buenos Aires, the capital of Argentina, it is proper to honk at an impending intersection, and the one who honks first has the right-of-way. Right-of-way is determined somewhat haphazardly by a combination of vehicle size and who arrives first. In the US, most drivers tend to follow the written regulations of driving, so driving in Argentina would be dangerous. The most popular alternative to driving is the railway system. The railway system in Argentina is the second largest in the world, and it is the most efficient way to get around, especially in more urban locations. There are different class options available to choose from. Coque de Cama consists of sleeping compartments and provides travelers more room to store luggage. The Pullman class, which is well air-conditioned and has reclining seats. The Primera class, which is also well air-conditioned but has smaller reclining seats. And the Turista class, which is often overcrowded, considered to be extremely uncomfortable, and has no air conditioning. This multitude of classes allows passengers to have flexibility and comfortability and cost. Systems similar to the railway system exist throughout the US, but they are not as popular as they are in Argentina. Cuisine and the food shopping process as a whole is another area of potential culture shock. Grocery shopping as a whole differs a whole lot from the system established in the US. US citizens are accustomed to going to larger supermarkets and chain stores, which sell everything under one roof, whereas in Argentina, they prefer shopping at multiple smaller, more specialized shops, which are significantly lowering the prices of groceries per household. Argentines will go to a local bakery to get bread, then a butcher for meat, a grocer for fruits and vegetables, and so on to get all of their food. In addition, the groceries Argentines purchase are vastly different than those of US citizens. In the US, many are switching to vegan and vegetarian diets in the hopes of developing healthier lifestyles and reducing their carbon footprint. However, in Argentina, many of their dishes are primarily meat-based. Some of their most popular dishes include loco, asado, parrillas, and empanadas, which are all centered on beef. Argentines typically viewed vegetarian food as anything that isn't red meat, meaning that poultry such as chicken, turkey, and fish are considered to be vegetarian. Nowadays, in more urban areas, there are a few vegetarian and vegan options, but most of their cuisine is still relatively meat-based. This slide is works cited, and this is where we got all our information for the research part of our PowerPoint presentation. Feel free to use any of the sources available for additional research if it needs to be conducted. That concludes the presentation on Argentine culture and potential areas of culture shock. Are there any questions? The question was, what was the most rewarding part of my research? The most rewarding part of my research was learning about a country that I had previously never been to or really even thought of to even travel to. But learning about some of the styles of the local cities or the major cities like Buenos Aires has piqued my interest and made me learn a little bit more about a developing country that I never would have thought of.
So the question was, what was the most rewarding part of my research? For me personally, the most rewarding part of my research was getting to learn about Argentina as a whole, a Hispanic country. I love Hispanic culture. I've been learning Spanish for the past 5 or so years now, and I really love getting to learn about different aspects of their culture, try their different types of foods, and things like that. So this was a really amazing opportunity that I really did enjoy.